CAPSI podcast series, Conversations on African Philanthropy.
Welcome to yet another episode on Conversations on African Philanthropy with me, Bhekinkosi Moyo, the Director of the Center on African Philanthropy and Social Investment at the Wits Business School. I'm happy to be joined by Logan Shitlavane. I hope I pronounced it very well. Yeah. Logan, you were born and raised in a small township of Waterville located in Limpopo. I read that you wanted to be a pilot.
Yes.
What happened?
Thank you for having me, Prof. Me not becoming a pilot yet, it's because of the pilot fees. The pilot fees are very, very high. So in a way that I had to take another route in my career in order for me to sustain myself. So I haven't become a pilot yet, but I'm willing and saving money so that I can go to flight school.
So you haven't become a pilot yet, but you are already flying certain forms of aircrafts. And one of them is this organization that you established, Bridging the Gap Youth Empowerment. Can you tell us about this organization and why you found it important to establish it with your colleagues?
Okay, Bridging the Gap Youth Empowerment, which is abbreviated as BTGYE, was established in 2018 by a group of students. Those students, they saw a gap in the community of where other students have difficulties on having to find space in universities. So what we did is we came up with a plan to start bridging the gap in a way to help those children with application, with mentorship, with life coaching. The organization in a way tries to close that gap of students not finding a space in university and colleges. So we try to mentor them during the course of their matric year. We try to help them apply in specific universities, and then we give them career guidance in universities and career choices that are relevant in this age. Not to take careers that I won't say irrelevant, but careers that are now in high demand so that they can get jobs when they finish their studies.
Yeah. So I know we have gone straight into discussing this initiative, which is very deep and close to your heart. But maybe before we can even go there, it seems to me there's something that is driving you to go that route. If you look at your own life, your own upbringing, your own opportunities and challenges, one of them is you wanted to be a pilot, you still want to be a pilot, but you couldn't do it as a result of maybe current circumstances. What is it that is driving you to actually want to work with these young people and help them to make good career choices? Is there anything from your own life, your own existential circumstance that forces you to say, wait a minute, I've been here myself. I actually don't want these young people to go through the same challenge?
I can say it's generosity, being generous. I grew up as a generous person. My family is generous. They give without wanting something back. So as I was growing up, I've walked that route before, that I know the challenges that they are gonna come across. So I did this because I don't want them to come across those challenges. One of the things that made me join Bridging the Gap is because when I went to college first, I went to an institution that while I was closer to graduation, the institution closed down. So I don't want those students to go down the same route of registering on institutions that are not registered on the, what do you call this? Is it SAQA or CETA? Yeah. Accreditation institutions. So I don't want them to walk that route. So in a way that we take that route for them, we go as far as looking for accredited institutions, giving them the list of accredited institutions in a way that they choose from those lists and then apply from them.
Yeah. Maybe take us a bit, with reference to your own journey, from a young age all the way to where you are. I see you've done several things. At one point you wanted to be a pilot, but you ended up doing IT studies. Take us through that journey up to a point where you are appointed the chairperson of this organization.
Okay, I'll start from matric because high school was just high school. So I even chose the wrong subjects, and then
Let's talk about that. Okay. Why was high school just high school, and why did you end up with the wrong subject? Because that would help other people watching and understanding why it's important at a very early on age to be very determinant about the choices that you make, including the subjects that you choose.
Okay, with high school, I did sciences, and then sciences was the thing on that time in high school. And then I found that I'm not good with sciences, but then it was a little bit, let's just say, late for me to change. So I just had to, the objective was now for me to pass my matric. So I ended up passing my matric, but it wasn't the best of the marks. So that's when I wanted to be a pilot. But then I realized that becoming a pilot, the affordability was just way too much. So I went to vet star schools, and then I upgraded and still failed. So I was like, if I continue like this, upgrading and whatnot, it's just gonna cost me a lot of money and I'm not progressing. Yeah. So before I chose IT, a family member of mine took me to SABC to speak to the head of IT. The head of IT asked me a bit of questions, like, what are you interested in? So I was like, I want to be a pilot, but then I'm good with computers. So I was like, yeah, go to IT. That was when I went to this institution, which was accredited when I started. And then I did my 3-year course, and then on the last year, and then I failed one module. And then when I had to extend to the next year, that's when the institution was closing down. So come to think of it, I got my qualification on an envelope given to me, like no graduation, nothing, with no academic transcript, just national diploma in IT. And then I asked about the transcript. They just like gave me runaround. So I was like, if I'm gonna rely on this paper without a transcript, I'm just digging myself a hole that I'm not even gonna come out from. So I registered at Menkosa for BCom Information and Technology Management. That's when everything just changed. From doing sciences, I'm now doing management. I had to do accounting, economics, business, statistics, all those subjects that involve management. So after that, during the course of that degree, I got an internship to be a software developer, and then I wasn't successful. The reason why I wasn't successful there is because coding was a little bit difficult for me. So that's when I realized that, not because they don't want to give me a job, but they found that I'm not good to be placed there because I'm not doing the right job. So I went by finishing my studies, and then on the last stages of my degree, that was when I stayed home, working from home. And then I told my mom that, don't worry about me. I know that me sitting right here, I won't even finish 6 months without finding something, because I know myself, I can pick myself up. So I just went on looking for jobs, internships. And then after 3 months, from the 6 months that I counted, just after 3, I got an internship at Altron. So that was when Altron called me to attend cybersecurity internship. So on that internship, I was successful, and then they gave me a job. After being successful there, that was when I was graduating on my degree. And then on 2021, that was when I joined Bridging the Gap, because they called me that, can you please be part of the organization so we can help students on their upbringing, because we have seen and we know your story. That was a friend of mine. She was like, we've seen and we know your story. Can you please come and be the deputy chairperson of the organization? Of which, I served my term there. And then they were like, we love the way you do things. We love the way you were running the organization as a deputy, and would like to make you the chairperson of the organization. I was like, oh, okay, now you are just putting more pressure on me. I have a lot of things to do. And then they were like, no, you're going to do it. So I became the chairperson, I think last year. Last year. I became the chairperson last year. And then I served my term. And then this year, they were like, we are still impressed by the way you do things and the way you keep on putting us to the map. That was when our stories came out, Kisima Giving, our story came out there, and then we went out to a few newspapers and online articles. And then this year, they were like, please continue to fly the flag high. Please continue being the chairperson. You can elect your own executive committee, the people that you want to work with. So that was when we continued doing our stuff. And then we started over again this year with the mentorship program, mentoring matriculants. Also, we are approaching our open day, where we're going to be letting the matriculants know when our application day is coming. Also, we are planning on some few fundraising activities that we can raise money for the organization.
Yeah, so let's do this so that we take one of those at a point. And I'm happy you have painted the picture so far, because then it positions you very well in the current function that you are serving in the organization, Bridging the Gap. But if we are to look at today's circumstances and context, what would you say are the key challenges that are facing young people? If you can just give us a few that you as a young person would immediately say, you know what, for policymakers, decision makers, these are the 2 or 3 main issues that are facing us as young people today.
Okay. One, I can say social media pressure. A lot of people are more entitled on what they see than what is actually happening. So a lot of young people tend to base their lives on their phones. They can't see what is actually happening behind they only see what's happening on the device, and they tend to want what they see. And most of the time, it's not actually the real thing that is happening right there. So that is what one of the challenges. And then the second one could be they don't have exposure to a lot of resources. The phones that we use right now, they have a lot of information, but we tend to not look for the right information. We tend to drive away to what is right, to what we see. Yeah. So a lot of young people right now, they are not easily focused on education. They want what they see, and they want to get it like right now. They don't know the foundation or the background of what happens when you go to school. What else?
Yeah. So maybe before we can extend that thought,
yeah.
As a specialist in cybersecurity, you would know more about the dangers of social media. And I could tell as you were speaking about the first challenge,
yeah.
that you are also approaching it from the perspective of some deep knowledge around what goes on behind the devices. A lot of young people fall into the pressures of cyberbullying as one of the big problems. And the repercussions, we all know about them. Some people lose confidence completely. Others end up, to some extent, even taking their own lives. What are some of those key threats that you see from the specialist in you who deals with cybersecurity for young people?
Let me just say that when it comes to like social media and cyberbullying, everyone has their opinion, because anyone can say whatever they want about you, because it's very difficult for you to locate them. Everyone can just type from wherever they are, and if they feel like they want to say something, they can say something. But the only thing that we can rely on right now is to, let's just say, if you find something offensive, you actually report that post. That is when the cyber part of social media helps people. You report whatever you feel like it's offensive to you and it's directed to you. Other than that, I feel like everyone always has something to say. So in social media, it's not all the time that you will seek, what's that word? Okay, I forgot the word, but then you don't have to take everything that everyone says from social media.
Validation, maybe.
Yeah, seeking validation. Yeah. You don't have to take everything. Like, I'm one person that I can write something, and if I feel like your comment has negativity on it, I just like brush it off and focus on the people that have commented something positive. I stick to positivity, because all the time, or most of the time, people always have something to say, either positive or negative. So it's up to you where you put your energy at. I put my energy on positive things.
Right. And then I want us to go back to Bridging the Gap organization. What are some of the challenges that you have faced as an organization that hinder or limit the potential that you think as an organization you can achieve? Some of them could be resources, others could be, the context. What are some of the main challenges that you would say, as an institution, if we overcame these challenges, we would actually reach more people, but even have a greater impact?
Okay, one would be funding.
Yeah.
Funding is a problem. We're finding it difficult for us to get like funds to fund transportation, to fund the students that we are helping. So that's like one of the things. And then donations. like we are unable to reach a greater audience because we work around with five schools in the Bembe district where I come from in Limpopo. So the more we reach a greater audience, is the more people are going to know about us. And the people will understand our initiative that we are trying to reduce the number of students that take gap years because of university applications. Yeah. So in that way, we need resources such as like transport. We need laptops to help the students to apply. We need Wi-Fi. We need banners like this to advertise our organization. Right. Yes.
Right. Okay, so I think that's useful to actually put on the table, because some of our viewers are people who operate in this space. Some of them are donors. And so listening to you, this is a worthy cause that would actually, deserve to be supported. And so I'm happy that you could put that some of the challenges you are facing are funding, but also some of the infrastructure issues that you would require to be able to achieve your goals and your objectives. And so we'll try and get the word out there to some of our supporters, some of our viewers, so that we could also try and see how we could assist your institution. But what are the opportunities that you see? Obviously, you started this a couple of years. The context keeps changing, both the economic and the political environment keeps changing for young people. So if you were to look into the future, what are the opportunities that you would say, if we got adequate funding, we would grab this opportunity and not let it go?
Okay, yeah, we need to work with basic education. If we can be able to work with the Department of Basic Education, so that they not necessarily give us funding, but they should know that this is the type of initiative that we are pushing. Not everyone in, let's just say, in South Africa knows how to apply for universities. Mentorship. So we want to reach an audience that is less privileged. We want to reach the rural areas of South Africa where people don't have access to laptops, Wi-Fi, and all those things that help them apply to universities. Because there's a lot of great learners around South Africa, but they are unable to get to universities because they don't know their way or the right way to do it. Some rely on walk-ins, some rely on late applications, going to the institution. Just imagine coming from the Eastern Cape, going to Limpopo, Tefluop to walk in, and then you don't get accepted, only to go back. So we are trying to bridge that gap in a way that we reach those villages, try to help them apply earlier, apply for NSFAS, apply for university, and then as being part of bridging the gap, you become a member, we mentor you. Mentoring you doesn't mean it has to be educational. Yeah. It can be life coaching. You take the right direction. We try to steer you in the right direction. We've got people there that are members that have taken certain directions that were not supposed to be taken by learners. Yeah. So we try to drive them away from that direction in a way that they don't repeat the same mistakes that happened before. Yeah. Because these days, universities, I think the criteria has now went up to be accepted in university and get space. Yeah. So we are trying by all means in a way that we help them apply, and then we help them also, because this is the fourth industrial revolution, we want them to apply for jobs that are are on high demand so that they can better their lives and also for their families. And we also urge them that after graduating, they come back to bridging the gap, to come and help those who are behind them, like we did. We are helping those that are behind us, so that when we move forward, they come back and help those who are behind them.
So you're basically taking the ladder back to the...
Yes, so that everyone keeps climbing. We climb, we get to the top, bring the ladder down, and then everyone...
I mean, I don't know if you have the figures with you right now, but would you have an estimate of how many young people you have reached since the beginning of Bridge the Gap?
Let's just say 500 or less.
500 or so, yeah.
Yeah, because on those 5 schools that we are busy with, I'm sure there is like, let's just say 50 matriculants, and then we take it to 3 years ago. Yeah.
That's a sizable number, which I think, you know, for a young person like you and your colleagues to have touched so many lives, you still have a long way to go. And so that means you're going to touch more lives. We're about to close and wind up, but I wanted to just ask you 2 more questions. The first is, what do you think young people should be doing today? You are already doing something yourself with your colleagues, but the population of young people is very big. What do you think other young people should be doing in order to secure the future? There's always this idea that we depend on adults, but the future really has to be anchored on young people today. And I'm happy that you and your colleagues are doing something. And you are doing something which is in the space of education. And education is key. You can never run away from the importance of education. But what do you think other young people should be doing?
The future is in education. You need to educate yourself. Education doesn't necessarily mean going to school, but there is libraries where you get resources of things that are relevant in what is going on with the economy right now. So I would urge young people to go to school, further their studies, because once you are in education, you never stop learning. That's what I taught myself in IT. That's what I found out, that with IT, you never stop learning. There is one technology today, another one will come out tomorrow. So you need to familiarize yourself with everything that is happening around you. So I would say education is the most important tool right now, so that you educate yourself on what is happening with the economy.
So in your view, young people must at most seize themselves with empowering themselves through education, and where possible, participate in institutions like yours and several others. Yeah. You wrote somewhere that you are passionate about philanthropy because you are who you are, because of what people gave you, and you are willing to give back what you have received, and more to those that are underprivileged. Why are you passionate about philanthropy? Let's talk about that, because the reason why we are here is really about showcasing the work that philanthropists do, but also the work that philanthropy does to those that are deserving. And behind you is the Kisima banner that talks about good stories of giving and solidarity. And your story was actually, showcased under the Kisima framework. So why are you passionate about philanthropy, and what role do you think it plays?
I would say I'm passionate because giving is a sign of Ubuntu. You need to give, whether big or small. So me being joining philanthropy is because I was raised not by what I have right now. It's what was given to me, and it was given to me not by a price. It was given to me for free. So in that way, I need to give back. Because one thing I know about wealthy people is they have to give back. And that's one thing, that's where I'm heading, to be wealthy. So I need to give back. The earlier, the better. So I need to give back whatever I have, whether it's from education, whether it's from clothes, education, resources, but I always have to find a way to give back without needing something in return.
Yeah. So you believe that the more you give,
Yeah.
the more you will get. I'm really impressed by that philosophy and the fact that you have actually joined in the fight against all forms of inequalities. And in your case, you're doing it from an education perspective at a very young age. You are not waiting till you are old to actually give. Giving can happen at any age. So I'm really proud about that. So this, I think, episode was really to showcase the work that young people are doing, and we wanted to shine a spotlight on you. And I think from the conversation, one of the things that we have really said, and I'm appealing to our viewers, is to really, support the initiatives that are done by young people. We heard that Bridging the Gap Youth Empowerment is a non-profit organization that was established by university students in 2018 to actually help those schools that are underprivileged. And one of the things that they really require is funding. Beyond funding, we can also assist them with all forms of donations, whether it's transportation, whether it's in-kind support as our time, our skills. I'm really appealing to everyone out there to help young people like Logan. Thank you for watching. This was Logan Shitlavane, who joined us for this conversation. Logan, thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. We are now joined by Thembekile Maseko, a young person who works a lot with CAPSI. Thembi, you listened to the conversation I just had with Logan Shitlavane from Bridging the Gap Youth Empowerment Organization. I just want to get your impressions and your responses to the work that young people are doing from the perspective of a young person yourself.
Okay, thank you, Prof, and thank you for inviting me today. I think what Logan spoke about was quite impactful because we're seeing a growth in the engagement of young people in civil society today, in them stepping forward and not waiting to be given the baton and impacting. And what he spoke of on how they're doing educational programs to try and pull the ladder and give the next person a ladder is quite key in the world we live in today because we're so segmented amongst ourselves. And for him and his organization to bring that together, I think it's quite key.
Great. And then, of course, you yourself are currently engaged in several initiatives, of course, through Strativet. Would you see yourself as a young person in a situation where you want to change so many things about the current architecture of the world? And if so, what are those things that if you had the power, you would want to change?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think with working with Strativet, I get to see a lot of how the organizations, NGOs are functioning, and you're like, oh, I wish you could do this better. I think one of the things I really want to transform is the role of education. As we see, we keep saying it's the key, but now the education is transformed. It's changing in how in its impact and contribution. It's skills. I wish to promote more skills. Can we get the youth skilled more than, well, yes, sure, education is still playing a very big role, but can we also push the narrative of skills and create and make it just as important? And also just participation in policy making decisions, because we're so excluded from that. And structurally, inclusion in people opening doors, the government actually taking into account what the youth are saying, NGOs also trying to gather us and say, what do you guys want to do? We're here, we're listening, and actually acting on it.
And that ties back to what Logan's organization is actually doing, which is identifying one of the blockages in the education system, and as university students, going back to actually assist underprivileged young people in schools. But you have been in the philanthropy space somewhat and for a bit of a time now. What are the structural barriers that you think philanthropists should be addressing in order to be in a position to do exactly what you just said, but also to be in a position to see the potential in organizations like the one that Logan leads?
Okay. Philanthropists today, I think we talk amongst themselves, amongst the donors, amongst peer organizations, but very few are actually going to the ground. Very few. I think it would actually be harder to get someone like Logan and his organization to get recognized because he doesn't have access to the space. Yeah. So that's the big barrier we have, I see with philanthropy today, especially African philanthropy. If you're not in the circle, you're really going to have the access, especially it's even twice as hard as a youth because you're trying to fight through the education and the systematic injustice, and you still can't find the funds or the support and the mentoring that you need. Yeah. So yeah, I think we're talking amongst ourselves and we need to start going to the ground.
Yeah, so one of the things that we are saying is that if you were to work with Logan, one of the things that you would really, assist them with is how to create visibility, but also to be unique in such a way that their value proposition is immediately captured by philanthropists who are more often not in touch with what's happening on the ground. Is that what you are saying?
Yes.
And so, having said that, if we were to say Strativet were to assist institutions like them, what would you need as Strativet?
We would need to start a database. Yeah. We would need support from philanthropic ecosystems across the continent who have reach. So we build a database of youth-led organizations, and we then start creating their social media presence, start building their visibility, whether it's them talking more, webinars, or just joint engagements with all of them.
Yeah. We are preparing for our 4th annual philanthropy conference, which normally brings together a whole host of partners, actors in philanthropy. If you were to start thinking about that audience and taking into account what you've just said and what Logan said, what would be the 3 or 4 asks that you would put on those philanthropists? If I were to say, there they are, look at that camera and make an ask, what would it be? So which one would be the camera for her? There.
Okay, so I'll look there. Firstly, let's please stop or try to not talk amongst your peers. It's time to start passing the baton. Start equipping the next youth person, because if you've noticed, there's very few youths that are involved visibly in philanthropy. Money. Finding a system of giving better access to grants towards youth-led organizations, and just really going to the ground. Let's start doing projects, yes, I understand most of us are academics and all, but let's do projects that go to the ground, projects that really need maybe a run. Let's do a run for philanthropy in Africa or something like that, that really engages even the person in the rural area and the marginalized community who doesn't know what philanthropy is, and they actually get to see what that's about. And it's actionable and it's tangible to them.
Yeah. And finally, can you just tell us a bit about what Strativet does, so that those listening and viewing this episode can, if need be, also reach out to your services?
Thank you. So Strativet Impact is a communications organization. We essentially help organizations to promote social justice across the continent. And we do this through various mechanisms of comms, which social media campaigns, your events, and all sorts of things. So That's what we do.
Thank you so much, Thembi. I know we didn't prepare you. You had come here to assist with shooting of the episode, but I just found it useful listening to Logan that we should just get a rejoinder from a young person in the room. So thank you so much, Thembi. That was Thembekile Maseko from Strativet organization, a communications consultancy that helps nonprofits to gain visibility, but also to develop their strategies as well as communications plans. Thank you so much for watching.
You've been listening to the CAPSI podcast series, Conversations on African Philanthropy.